Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mad Army podcast. It feels good to be back. So we are here talking about Mayhem. First and foremost, I do apologize for it being so late. Good news is you guys can listen to the audio at any time. I was busy watching all the XFL games. And also watch TakeOver. I took a break. I think it's Ciampa versus Adam Cole right now, as a matter of fact, in Portland. I'm planning on doing the XFL video tomorrow. That's why I wanted to do the Mayhem behind the scenes video today to get my thoughts out of the way here and now while I still can. And then upload it late. So I do apologize for that. But let's get into it, as this is the final pay-per-view before the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. So officially, this pay-per-view, Mayhem, replaced TLC. We are 5 episodes away from the Royal Rumble and 15 away from WrestleMania, the final WrestleMania of Universe mode. So going into it, kicking off was Ricochet and Mysterio versus American Alpha for the Raw Tag Team titles. Pretty good warm-up match. Mysterio and Ricochet start off with offense, and then American Alpha take command and control of the match for quite a while, only for Ricochet and Mysterio to rally at the very end to win or retain the titles last second. This decision was just push them forward. Ricochet and Mysterio want to keep the belts on them. It concludes American Alpha's rematch clause and sets up Ricochet and Mysterio against Assassin and MK on Raw, which was the plan, since I had them win the titles on the Raw before Survivor Series, so episode 32, I believe. Yeah, 32. So yeah. The original thought was that it was going to be The Fiend versus Kane. I decided against that. I decided to go with this match, and really give both teams an opportunity to showcase themselves and to finish up American Alpha. The Kane versus Fiend thing was an early concept. Second match, Hardcore Championship, Cole Lee, the champion, walking in with a title reign of 2 episodes against Road Killer, Andrade Cien Almas, and Alex Carter. You guys typically would know how it goes. I typically book these matches last second, but I will tell you this: Road Killer was slated to win. I had him scheduled all the way through. I had this decision probably around Backlash when I decided that he was going to win the title here. For reasons I can't say, but he's now a 4-time Hardcore Champion. Match was fairly decent. Ran a little bit longer than what I wanted to in terms of runtime, but still a very good match. Cole Lee losing his title. I chose Almas and Carter as the other 2 guys. Well, I wanted Cole Lee to have a little reign, even if it was really short. Almas and Carter I threw in there because I wanted to give actually, no, it wasn't Alex Carter. I considered Alex Carter. See, this is what happens when I don't update my own list. It was Almas and Arlington. I subbed out Alex Carter last second and went for Arlington instead. Reason why is because I figured that Arlington still needed to have a match to be put on screen, especially after being captain of Team SmackDown, so I didn't want to write him off. I swapped him out. See, there you go. I had Carter slated originally, but I swapped him out last second for Arlington. But I wanted to give Almas some exposure because I don't want to completely have him disappear after being WWE champion this season and the botch. So I still want to keep him around and on screen, even if he does lose. And Arlington, I wanted to showcase him. So going into match number 3, it was the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Cult of Drifters, which is CM Punk and Elias, newly crowned champions by beating the Undisputed Era on SmackDown in a pretty solid match on SmackDown. And here they go in. I threw them up against the OC, Gallows and Anderson, the most successful tag team in terms of accolades. And honestly, this was probably one of the OC's best matches next to DIY back in Season 3. Yeah, Season 3, I believe. I originally had Punk and Elias winning this. Can't lie. I changed it mid-match, and it turned into a really good match. Simple as that. I think it is arguably the match of the night. It was really good, fun to play in, and enjoy. And I just figured, why not? Crowd's behind it, might as well. Or it's a really good match. And Punk and Elias aren't hurt too much by this. They beat the Undisputed Era, who's looked pretty dominant, as well as lose to one of the most successful teams in terms of accolades. So in terms of if they get hurt by this, it doesn't damage them. It doesn't damage their characters, considering they lost to arguably the most dominant team in terms of success and accolades. All right, Cruiserweight Championship. Tyler Bate defending his Cruiserweight title against Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, and Johnny Gargano. I will not lie to you. I had Tyler Bate retaining the title. As you can clearly see, Mustafa Ali won the championship. But I decided to let it stand. Didn't decide to go back on it. It's typically how it is. I'll operate around it. I'll give Mustafa Ali his time in the sun. I won't tell you how long he'll have it, but he will have it for the time, or he has it for the time being. So congrats to him. The match was booked kind of today actually, Sunday, right before the show. I knew Tyler Bate was going in. I wanted him to retain. I just needed to figure out who was all in it, and ultimately Mustafa Ali got the win. It happens, but it's all right. On to the United States Championship, Harvey defending against Jamie, Raymond Cruz, and Finn Balor. Similar situation. I had this booked yesterday, Saturday, because I'm talking about this at the time of the recording. Harvey, I had slated to retain, but I wanted Raymond Cruz in there. Reason why is because I originally had The Fiend attacking Raymond Cruz. I ultimately made the switch and had Braden attack Harvey. That was a personal choice that I made last minute. Decided not to have The Fiend attack because I'm assuming that the people who did watch Survivor Series are the not casual viewers, but consistent viewers, or my hardcore audience. So the hardcore audience is already aware of The Fiend and Raymond Cruz possibly being set up for a match. So I decided to hold off slightly, or a little bit longer, on keeping it on the forefront of your minds, and instead setting up Braden versus Harvey's feud, or the Braden-Harvey feud, for the European Championship, which is the United States title. The match didn't go as planned, as you saw. Harvey got pinned pretty much right off the bat. That's what happens when you got 100 overall, so I restarted it. Basically, Harvey went on a power run straight through Jamie, Raymond Cruz, and Balor. But I wanted to give some time to Jamie at the end. Not how I really wanted the match to go, and I know that Harvey's character is certainly, you're not alone, everybody, who kind of is not really feeling it, but what the goal is to set up the guy who beats him in the hopes that it's well received. If it's not, I'll take a sip of my tea thinking, I could have written it differently, or this could have all been executed differently. And the negotiations backstage probably could have gone differently in terms of planning. But nonetheless, Harvey won. He's certainly getting no reaction from anybody. Not even heel heat. It's just people want to go to the next match to be invested in other things, because he's the only full-time legend that's a champion holder that is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's why he's getting no reaction. Because he's just on a power run, and people are just at the point where they're not even mad, they're just looking the other way, turning the cheek. I don't blame him. Moving on. Intercontinental Championship, Adam Cole versus Seth Rollins. All right, this match, to explain why I pulled the trigger on Rollins, because I had a tough time booking this because ultimately Adam Cole fought, who did I have him fight? Max Webb on SmackDown. I wanted to think of an opponent that made sense in terms of booking when you looked at it, and you could sit there as a fan and say, or at least a hardcore viewer on the ones who know it, and nod your head and agree. So I pulled the trigger on Rollins because Rollins beat Adam Cole for the WWE Championship earlier this season. Thought it only made sense that Rollins would make the argument that he should be a contender for Adam Cole's title. So he challenges and ultimately loses, solidifying Adam Cole in a pretty decent match. I had to do a little switcheroos to make it work, but I made the decision yesterday as well. So a lot of this was more recent. I think I explained this at Survivor Series. Ultimately, all the big plans, so it's everything's set up in phases. In terms of this season, everything, for example, Phase 1 was building up to Money in the Bank. Phase 2 was building up to Survivor Series. Phase 3 was really trying to, well, part of it was, and then the big storyline then was setting up toward Phase 3, which was Survivor Series, and now Phase 4 is setting everything up for the Royal Rumble with even shorter time. So from SummerSlam to Survivor Series is the biggest gap in terms of the schedule, I believe. Yeah, because it's like 13, 14 episodes, something like that. 14 episode gap to where you have 3 pay-per-views to really build up to that big phase, or that Phase 3 is the biggest stretch. So Phase 4 this was more of a setup pay-per-view. So I knew who I wanted to win, who I wanted to advance forward with the big titles, to forward the storylines. Adam Cole might have been way too predictable for this win, considering that he and Kyle O'Reilly were still feuding, but I still wanted to make it interesting and with an opponent that made sense to add to the stepping stones. And so far, Adam Cole, as a champion for the Intercontinental Championship, has done nothing but add to the prestige. It helps that the title reign and the storyline around it, him and Kyle O'Reilly has been helping build the storyline. Even the feud with Brock Lesnar between him, Kyle, and Adam Cole has been helping the story early on to really generate interest into the reign. And now we're here where Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, the set pieces the board is getting set toward the final act between the storyline. But of course, after the match, Adam Cole gets once again attacked by the masked wrestler who attacked him on SmackDown. It's a mystery. Can't go much more into it for you guys. Sorry, I'm keeping my lips shut on that one. On to the semi-main event. This honestly was a tough choice for me because Sante and Prince, I really wanted to do the main event, but at the same time, I thought, you know what, Class Part and Kevin Draco is the bigger built-up story. That's got to be the main event. In terms of Prince Metallico and Sante, Prince Metallico, little background, he wasn't pinned in the number 1 contendership opportunity all the way back before SummerSlam between him, Blake Daniels, and Jamie. Then at Clash of Champions, he got a pin decision, was never pinned in that match. So all the people in the match were set up to have title matches. His was going to be before Survivor Series. He ultimately was attacked by Jamie, and now has finally gotten his rematch, or his opportunity, against Sante, who is the current champion and new champion. And it's a tough decision, especially for me, because, well, not too tough, because I knew who I wanted to have win. But this decision was made, I think, with grudge around... Actually, I think I made this decision... Yeah, I made this decision around Backlash. I had originally set up a plan with Grudge where Prince was going to become champion, or I told him that I was stuck between Blake Daniels being champion or Prince being champion. I didn't know who at the time when I was talking to him. But I ultimately decided to hold off from Prince Metallico winning the World Championship then, because I didn't feel like him winning it and then Sante cashing in on it would be satisfying to people. It would just leave this bitter taste in your mouth, like, why did that just happen? Like, why did we just do that to Prince. So I decided to really just have a really good match with these two. I think that they had one of the best matches of the night. The match quality after Punk, Elias, and OC dipped down a bit, and then Adam Cole and Rollins started to bring it back. This really brought it back, and then Claspar and Kevin Draco really brought it back, even though nobody was really there. From my perspective, Sante, I think it was a bit too obvious that he was going to retain, even though it was a tough choice, I think, for some people to decide who they wanted to win. I was going to pull the trigger on Sante to retain. Prince loses, but still looks strong through it all. And now the question becomes, where's Prince going to go from here? When out of this match, because Prince now loses, and you're left wondering, well, what's going to happen now that he's done, and Harvey's got the U.S. title match locked up with Braden. It really just leaves Prince in this gray area, along with a list of guys like Alex Carter and several others. But you know what? That only drums up hype for the Rumble match itself, which is good because now you know some of the feuds that are coming up for the Rumble, and then you're left knowing, all right, these pieces or these wrestlers, not just Prince, but Alex Carter and several other key players, could have a real big shot at being possible names to be chosen for to win the Rumble. So that's stuff to pay attention to in these final episodes, building up, especially for the main roster for the Rumble. Even for NXT. Never count out NXT. Trust me when I say that. You never know. I could really pull the trigger in this final season on an NXT guy. But in terms of Sante Guerrero, he retained. And then Jeff Sanders attacks him afterwards. So the storyline with Jeff Sanders was that he and Sante had a long feud back in the previous season, Season 6, and it built all the way up to WrestleMania on the main event for the pre-show. Jeff beat him, looked strong from it, and then Jeff dipped back down off the radar for a while. Meanwhile, Sante became Mr. Money in the Bank. Then Jeff went on to become United States champion, hold on to it, and I think that was the start of, at least, here's the thing, Jeff's hype certainly has died off. Like, it's gone. His initial hype died back in Season 4. But I think interest certainly got brought back, or started to come back when he won the U.S. title. Maybe not fully or at all, but you could see the slow incline of interest, especially when he had his two matches, really good matches with Harvey. That certainly brought him back. And then it was all about giving him something to do. Grudge pitched the idea, hey, how about I say that I'm going to have him in there because I haven't. Grudge brought up a really good point, because I wanted to have him have a really good opponent in the future as a mini feud for him to have for his reign to start off, because there's Prince as a mini feud that makes sense, and then I wanted immediate follow-up that makes sense logic-wise. And then he basically pitched out, he's like, well, listen, I lost to him at WrestleMania. It only stands to reason that I'd want a rematch. Or that I'd still be bitter about it. And I thought to myself, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So, and he basically said, how about I name him that he's going to be in he's going to be in the 4-on-4 team match with me, only for me to hire Jack McKay to attack Jeff. Jeff goes to NXT, the previous episode, on episode 39, and speaks to Jack McKay, who's the hitman, or at least the hired gun, and Jack McKay basically says, listen, I tell you who hired me, as long as you give something that I want. So there's that little exchange there. The deal gets made. And then we find out this episode that it actually was Sante. Jeff attacks him, and now we're set up for another feud for Sante that can generate interest. Even if people aren't fully invested in Jeff, that's not the point. The idea for this match is to help elevate Jeff Sanders. Even if I haven't done too much with him, I still want to elevate Jeff a bit higher, and I know Sante and him certainly can do that for each other, because Turns out Jeff can have really good matches when, like, he's inconsistent, but when he needs to have a great match, he has a great match. I feel like I can try to strike the iron twice with these two guys and really make things work. In terms of elevating Sante as a champion in his reign, as well as elevate Jeff Sanders with this feud going into the Rumble, and it gives possible closure for one of these two, or maybe even a continuation of Mania. You'll have to wait and see. But like, Prince Metallico made sense as the one in line, and from my perspective, and then Jeff as a follow-up is a good little, like, back-to-back good small feuds for or Sante Guerrero to start off, or to have a reign. Keeps investment as him as a champion, keeps the fans engaged to some extent, and keeps the interest there to see, even if you're not a fan of Jeff, it's a storyline that was on before. Grudge wanted this. He requested it to me to try to make it happen. And we try to do a unique idea where we use Jack McKay as a hitman to try to generate interest for a little bit, create a little bit of mystery. Like, that's the setup, and then bam, now you know what's going to happen, and now it's all in the Rumble. So that's the main feud for Raw going into. So, like I said, 9 episodes for Phase 4, setting up from Survivor Series to Rumble. Not a lot of time, but it's the setup. So that was the decision that went there. Sorry, that was really long-winded. That was the longest explanation, but it might only get longer with the main one. It was a really good match, by the way. I think I've already said that. But the main event, Class Par versus Kevin Draco. I think this was a split decision on who people thought was going to win. I had Class Par winning for quite a long time over this match. I think I had Draco. Yeah, I had Draco booked for this match a long time ago. I can't remember when, maybe around Clash of Champions when I had this match decided, because I made the decision for Class Par's cash-in to happen, and I knew, based on the storyline, my storyline, or the triangle storyline with Class Par, Kevin Draco, and Matt King, things needed to be resolved for this arc. For Class Par, or well, all three of us. So Draco already beat Class Par once before, earlier in the season. Then they go here, and Class Par returns the favor, although Draco beats the crap out of Class Par. So this feeds into it. Class Par is not 100%. We'll have to see going forward how it goes, but Kevin Draco, at the same time, brutalizes Class Par despite losing. Both guys look strong. Nobody looks weak in terms of, like, their character coming out of it. Both of them are top guys anyways in the company, or in the series. It's tough to make either of them look weak or buried. They had a great match. Wouldn't expect anything less from them. It was a brutal street fight, mayhem, if you will. I gotta make a plug for the name. I know, I'm hilarious. Ultimately, now you're left wondering, where's Kevin Draco going to go from here now that he lost the feud? So he finally used his rematch clause that he had since WrestleMania, and it ultimately blew back on his face, and he didn't win. So the question now shifts to, where's he going to go from here now that he's lost? Simple as that. Which ultimately sets up another guy to possibly enter into the Rumble and possibly win. So there's candidates to consider. After the match, Class Par, basically, I had him do a promo. I spoke off the hip with no script, but ultimately calls out Matt King because Matt King no-showed last SmackDown. And aside from the Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole storyline, this is probably the longest built story. No, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole is just, no, they're both equal in length in terms of the build and storyline. But I knew I knew that this storyline was happening since before Money in the Bank. That's how far back I knew this match was going to happen, or at least this promo between Claspar and Matt King. So, over the course of this week, I am really going to be stressed out on this script for this promo, because this is it. This is the culmination of this storyline between Claspar and Matt King. This could very well be it. So, I'm already getting slightly emotional. Can't fight through it. But I'm going to try to power through it. This is probably going to go through a bunch of rewrites, but I'm going to try to make this script as best as I can for this promo. Basically, Claspar wants to fight Matt King now that he's beaten the guy that's quote-unquote supposed to take Matt King's place as the top guy of the company. Claspar has declared himself that he has replaced Matt King as the face of the company. He has taken over Matt King's persona or place as the pillar of this series, and feels that the only way to truly solidify himself is beating Matt King clean. Feels that it wasn't validated after cashing in on him. He needs to beat him one-on-one. So he still feels that emptiness inside of him. And Adrian Galerto called it out on SmackDown. The Claspar, despite these lofty goals of being the man to replace Matt King, being the face of this company, being the man to fill his shoes and replace him, there's still this sense of emptiness in Claspar. Despite being the champion, despite having everything, Adrian makes the point that he basically will have nothing, that this pursuit will leave him empty and unsatisfied. And I don't want to say more. I'm probably going to say a lot. I'm going to probably explain it. Well, no, I probably will explain it way more in detail, that storyline, after, or for the behind the scenes on the Rumble. But I will say this. The promo between Matt King and Claspar for SmackDown, I wouldn't recommend missing it. Because it's, well, you can if you want to. It doesn't matter to me. I just, for how pivotal it is, I wouldn't recommend missing it. But basically, Claspar declared that he wants to fight Matt King one-on-one. Basically demands Matt King shows up on SmackDown, or else he'll reveal his secret to the world about his knee brace and how Matt King got his knee brace. So that's basically all what happened on Mayhem. It was more of a setup. It was the setup piece for the Royal Rumble. That's typically what TLC has always been. But we did have some pretty good matches. One shocking title change that I chose to have on the fly, which was the tag team title match, which was probably the match of the night. But everything was to set up the chessboard for the Royal Rumble. I'm still going to try to keep you guys guessing. Still going to try to build up a great card for Raw and SmackDown, NXT, and NXT TakeOver. TakeOver, I almost have the full card complete. More on that later. Be sure to check in on NXT, because they're building up a card for TakeOver. And we're on the final two. I mean, bear this in mind. We're in the final two. We only have 2 more takeovers. We only have 3 more main roster pay-per-views in Universe Mode history. Chapter 7 is going to be the end. I would not recommend missing it. I'm going to try to deliver with every match, every storyline to the best of my ability, and really try to not just please all you guys, but try to end this series to where I'm satisfied, and hopefully to where you guys are satisfied. But I'm going to get, I always am when it comes around this time, but my voice is getting destroyed. But I really feel, feeling the stress and the emotion. Yeah, I'm really feeling it. We'll have to see. But, yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And of course, if I missed anything and you guys want to talk about it more in the comments section, please fire away with questions or anything else that I missed or you want me to cover. or even discuss. Seriously, this stuff is for you guys to talk to me about it and really see behind the curtain. So if I missed anything, let me know. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, of course, if you guys wish. Support's always appreciated. If you leave a dislike, sure. Whatever. But most importantly, and as always, guys, pseudo Matt Army. I'll see you next time.